keep it. We normally will notice, Richmond in the same manner, so.
Right.
My other thought, when we, I apologize because I don't have the ordinance memorized, but did we put anything in the ordinance that we could say you're in, that any private lateral or private system, be it the Willow Springs or any other customer, would have to keep their service in good repair? And I think if we have that language within the ordinance, we could go to them with that to say, hey, you're violating our ordinance. And
Yeah, I think, once we pass that ordinance with our codification, that might be a possibility. I think there's something in there that says that they're responsible for their laterals and that they need, if we find that there's a problem that they need.
Did you have something on that?
Yeah, in the intergovernmental units, when that system went in, there was capacity purchased specifically for Willow Springs. And they're running below that capacity. So if you're gonna put them on notice, beware that they could come back at you and say, well, we bought a capacity. Part of the original agreement gave us such amount of capacity.
Yeah, I'm not looking to take any action and pursue anything right now. I'm just essentially, the committee changes, we're going to go through administration change, but I would just more or less like a document that we presented it to them, and if they choose action on that one, that's theirs. I understand that there is a
Right.
limit for them.
And if you look at it, we're billing Willow Springs over $2,000 a month for the use of the Landon interceptor. The charges we get from Landon for the interceptor are actually less than that. We're told.
And I'm not looking at it as a single sole problem here. I'm looking at it as a global
I understand, but
system. I mean, we in the end are the users that contribute to the plans.
And Landon should be upset about this because it's additional II that's getting into the system regardless of the total flow. If I was Landon, I'd be upset. What's going on? So, anyway, it's a good point though.
Thank you, Tom, on that. Richmond, you think?
Yep. So Richmond School Lift Station had a runtime of 43.7 hours for the month. They're an average of about 0.7 hours a day for pump 1, and pump 2 had 0.0 hours per day. Runtime, the well readings for the school for the month of September were 44,000. No, there's a typo. 44,400 gallons. And for the month prior, it was 16,000. If you remember, the flows came down in August after he got done cleaning the school up. And now they're back up with school back in session, so. The calculated sewer flow, again, they don't get billed on it, they get billed on the well usage, but the calculated sewer flow for the month of July, should have been September, was 104,880. So, yeah, and they're basing that on an assumed gallons per minute that those pumps can pump. With Richmond School, we're working on completing that overall floor plan, and in talking with Adam, we're gonna look at a time in November to get together with him, probably closer to when school would be out, so we'd have more access to the school and less disruptive to the rooms. So we'll get that schedule. I'll update you on that. Any questions on Richmond School Lift Station?
Try to look back at last year's Richmond. So I thought that's like, I guess it's the thing that I thought would do the school. I know we weren't mapping it last year, so I'm trying to think of that. We got food.
Are you talking sewer or water? Well, we weren't doing well last year. Yeah.
It's not in the current packet, I'm coming back to that here.
And they were at what for September? 10,000? And that was on the sewer report you got. Yeah,
I couldn't remember if that.
and that sewer report again is calculated based upon an assumed number that those pumps can pump, so that number's,
Like,
that's what we're saying off of that, that. What we have to go off of over there is really the well reading, and that's what they're getting billed, that's what they're getting billed on, is their water usage.
The well readings for
The only,
23 were 44, well readings for 23 were 44, so they're almost exactly the same as last year.
I remember that was the month we issued that letter, so you must be waiting.
There-
Yeah.
yeah, the reports you're looking at, the only good things on there are basically the run times for the motors and the, I think this, their starts on there too, I think. But in terms of the gallons that are calculated there,
We did manage to get Zoom up and running properly, so if you guys would kindly turn your mics on.
any other questions in Richmond School?
Nope, thank you.
Fire station well, water usage for the month was 7,700 gallons. For the month of August, it was 2,000, so. Obviously had something going on there for the month, I don't know.
Are there people in there now? With the conversion to Pewaukee?
S-
We're gonna have
Well, it's,
In September, we have some of Pewaukee in there.
but they're
so-
they're only under Good Hope though.
Are they only in? Bill?
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing in
August and September, there's a blended schedule.
September, October. Yeah.
Okay.
Or, yeah, September, October, there's a blended schedule, but
November.
during the blend, they're only operating on a Good Hope. So. I don't know. what
Yeah,
that-
I don't have any reason why water usage would have went up in September so much. It's quite a bit.
Toilet running for a weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
could be.
it's still way less than the previous year though.
I didn't know if they were washing all the trucks or I have no
I don't
idea.
know. Could be like she said, a toilet running in the community
Yeah, but
center.
they should be washing the trucks on the side, so they shouldn't be going in. Oh, yeah, that's.
Well,
water.
again,
But
it's
it's
water
water
usage,
usage.
right?
I mean, we were operating at 25,000 last September though.
Right. But that was the.
And that was the toilet.
Toilet was leaking,
So-
right, yep.
Yeah, I don't, yes, it's a lot compared to the previous month, but it's historically way lower.
We'll keep our eye on that. Casey's well for the month of September was about 22,000 gallons. The month prior in August was about 26,000. So that's in line. With what we've seen over the course of 23. Any questions on either the fire station or Casey's well?
No.
Okay, then Business Park East. Couple of us talked about already, the drainage issue on the west side of Leeds Lane. Just south of Town Line Road or Main Street. That's been taken care of, so Butine Peterson was in there, got the grading done, it's been restored, there's erosion mat down. So hopefully we get some grass to grow before frost hits, and we got bare spots we'll look at reseeding in the spring.
Right. Anything else, Don?
No. that'd
Any
be-
questions for
Yeah.
Don? None. All right. Mr. Sergeant,
For October, we put out the residential bills. And we've started informing the residential customers to send their payments to the village hall as opposed to our office. Other than that, we haven't received the utility bill from the energy. We're not gonna have to report it.
all right, and we'll hear more from you on the budget later. Unfinished business, actually, does anyone have anything pertaining to that from Mr. Sergeant?
I just have one question.
Yeah.
Do you have the rearage notices going for the tax roll? The Pre-tax roll notices going out?
I mean,
Not yet.
actual notices?
No.
Right, we're ready for those.
Is your office sending those or is Village Hall?
Excuse me?
They are.
You're gonna send them?
Yeah.
Okay. that satisfy it?
Yep.
Okay, anyone else? All right, now we can go on to 6A, unfinished business, discussion and necessary action to create a policy/procedure for citizen requests related to speed, street sign, and or traffic control issues.
So I put in your packet the, some, thoughts on how we could take care of the complaints, by, having, the first contact to be, either through the website themselves, through the board, through staff putting it into the website. And then those requests go directly to the sheriff's department. And then the sheriff's department makes the determination on what action they need. So they'll make the determination if they need to look into it, if they need to do a traffic study. That's all gonna be up to the sheriff to make that decision. And then if they do, if the sheriff does recommend speed reduction, you know, that a sign needs to be placed, they'll contact Nick at Public Works, and then he'll put that on the agenda for discussion by the committee. Same process will happen if somebody wants extra stop signs. They'll still go through the sheriff's department because in most cases, they'll be able to look to see if there's been any accidents. They'll be able to check to see why somebody wants, if there's a problem with someone not being able to see oncoming traffic from the other ways. We know most of the people that are asking for stop signs are asking for them because they think it's gonna slow them down. So if we do the same process, send that through to the sheriff, they can do their investigation. If anything needs to be moved forward, they'll take that to Nick to bring to the committee. But otherwise, it'll be handled directly with the sheriff.
How does the sheriff's department bill us for that extra time they've given?
That's part of our contract.
What is?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. It's great. I didn't know in terms of the contract.
One of the things that I wanted to know is if you wanted to have something actually put on the website on what, you know, on, you know, the fact that stop signs don't solve speeding problems, what their intended use are, or do we stay silent and we put that in like our newsletters periodically or on our website Facebook periodically. Just to remind people when school starts or summer comes and people get all nervous about their kids being close to the road. So I just wanted some feedback on that as well.
Personally, I'm torn about the whole thing because I like the idea of having something on the website, and at one point I thought we talked about having like warrants where we would, if your situation meets these standards, then you can apply.
Right.
And I guess I don't know if that's really still in here.
Well, that's still part of the second page says, one, you know, kind of goes through, some suggestions, the next couple of pages go through some suggestions that we talked about in the past.
Okay.
On what, you know, what is considered a, you know, so on this, actually it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4 page where the stop sign is. Under consideration, it's the combination of vehicle, bicycle and pedestrians at 2,000 units per day. If there's inability to see conflicting traffic, crash reports, so many traffic accidents within a 3-year period.
So I guess, but I think I would like to have it on the website. But I do see that you have an appeal set up, and I have a feeling that everyone's gonna just go directly to that appeal.
So we can leave the appeals off. It's just that usually when you put a policy together and somebody feels like they're being not heard, they want to be able to go through some kind of an appeal process. And then it ends up at committee anyways.
Yeah, and
because
I am, that's, I understand that, but I just, I have this feeling that everybody is gonna try and
Appeal.
appeal.
So if we don't put it out there, but if somebody says, well, I don't agree with what the sheriff said, or whatever, and, I want to, who do I go to next? We could tell them about the appeals process.
Was it Franklin that had the part in their policy about appeals? Yeah.
That's
Towards the back, wasn't it?
It was.
I did pull it off of. Yeah, and what the appeals process was is how do you feel that the guidance, that your situation doesn't meet the guidance of the MUTCD? And our discussion we had, if I'm remembering correctly, was that, do we actually use that, or do we use some kind of state code? Or state, guidance that is used in Wisconsin. So we kind of stalled on that, possibility.
Oh, Post-it's got one under their policy section 4(5). It says if the stop sign is not warranted, the director of public works will notify the person making the request of the results and send a copy to the alderman of the district. Should the applicant wish to appeal the decision of the public works, he or she must obtain or must submit a letter describing why the MUTCD guidance should not be utilized. The TAC will then discuss the item and will choose to uphold or overturn the director's decision. So,
Right.
I mean, for us, our TAC would be this committee, would be the
Right.
first one.
Mhm.
Um,
Do you want that in there?
I kind of like that language that at least we would have the MUTCD as the guiding document. And then, so I guess I want to have the complainant have some buy into this whole thing, and then that they would put that together, and not that they're just going to try and supersede the policy and just go directly to their their
To the
their
person after-
representative or
Yes.
something. So I guess if we could keep something similar to that
I
in,
think that,
Okay,
it's fine. That would force them to at least start.
and put a little effort into it
Yes,
besides just
right.
calling and complaining.
And specifically say why, what aspects of the MUTCD does not apply. Instead of just saying because.
Should not be
I don't
utilized, yeah.
like it. That is the guiding document.
yeah, that's what I had actually on the second, or the third page, second paper. Fifth bullet point, if the stop sign is not warranted, the director will notify the person making the request, results will be sent to the committee chair,
Okay, sorry.
and then the applicant, has to prove, why the MUTCD guidance should not be utilized.
Sorry, I missed that.
oh, so is page 3 the one you're recommending, or is that?
Well, it's, so at first, my first page is, and second page is kind of, this is what I was thinking we do in policy, sending it to the sheriff. The second page was what we discussed the last meeting, 2 meetings ago. And I was suggesting we put something on the website that gives us a breakdown of,
Process.
when signs are allowed and how we use the MUTCD, and then the policy for appeal, essentially.
So what would go on the website, if I understand correctly, is on page 3 of the handout,
Right,
everything from, except for the last stuff.
right,
That would be what goes on there. Which seems fine to me because it has a process, it's got an appeal process, and it's all laid out there. Clearly, I don't think it needs to be more than that. Because I think it addresses the concern you had. There's a process, you got to do A and then B and then C, and that's the way it works. And here's the process we did.
I guess. Let's break this down. I think we'll start with, does everyone feel a traffic? How do we want the complaint form to be handled? Is there an extra one in Civic Plus we can put in there that addresses all of them? I know like Franklin had.
We can put one in that has what their concerns are about. This was just an example, just for speed enforcement, and we would have something similar. How we actually put it on, Civic. It's not gonna look just like this, but we could have
Yeah.
something that, if what I'm reading is correct, these are your concerns. I'm concerned about speeding,
Yeah,
concerned about a sign. These are my
Yeah,
three
the
things
stuff
that I'm
that like
looking for.
Manitowoc's got, if we put that on there as far as the form. If you look on whatever page that is, it says City of Manitowoc stop sign request form.
Mhm.
It's got. The requesters information, the location, what they believe the problem is.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
I
Like about 5 from the back.
I found Fitchburg uses Civic Plus and they have, it's called a traffic complaint form.
Mhm.
And in that one, they have a drop down. It's speeding, stop sign violation, stop light violation, aggressive reckless driving, other traffic sign violation or other. I was thinking we could use a list like that, but I mean, there's no reason Nick should have to be inundated with speeding complaints.
Well, no, that's why I was having the speeding sent directly to the sheriff.
Right.
It wasn't to me. It's only when the sheriff thinks something has to go to the committee. And then they would contact me. He would only get any kind of contact concerning if the sheriff believes that the speed limit on Hillside should be 25. They would then contact Nick and say, we have documentation that says that it would be good to reduce something.
I guess I would like to, I mean, I don't think the sheriff's department should be involved with signage at all.
They're the
I
ones
think-
that would be looking at the speed limit, and if they're finding that the speed limit is. You don't think that the sheriff's department looks at the speed limit to see if it's.
I guess
Good
we'll
for
go
the
to
area.
Hillside. If there's a request for a speed reduction,
Mhm.
that should go to Nick right away.
Okay.
Nick should then liaison with the sheriff's department to collect whatever information he needs to bring forward to make his decision.
Okay, that's what I had originally.
If there's a speeding complaint on Hillside Road. There's no reason Nick should even,
Right, it
Be
would go
involved in
right
that.
to the sheriff.
so. And that's why I think the drop-down menu should have routings to each different discipline of complaint. And in there could, instead of other, it could be like new traffic. Or just new sign request. You know, yeah, because I mean, there's no reason, yeah, exactly, there's no reason the sheriff should even be involved with children at play signs. Cause they don't have any authority to.
But
We don't put up-
don't those signing requests always
that?
have
We
to
don't
come
put up-
back?
She was
to
just
her?
using that as a
Okay.
example.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say.
So Jasmine and Natasha and I are the ones who do the behind the scenes stuff for the website. When we create a form, we can custom create it however we want it to. But if it's all going to be on the same form, they'll all get routed to the same place. So it would have to be 2 separate forms.
And I think that's what happens in Milwaukee. There's 2 different forms. One is speeding, and then it goes to the sheriff, and then the other one has to do with potholes and traffic signs and things like that, that goes directed to the DPW.
So I could do 2 of them.
But we can get them we don't have to create them, Elisa. We can grab them from other municipalities. We
Right,
don't
but we
start
still
from
have to
scratch.
put it in there we can use theirs as a format, but we still have to actually create it on the back end and say where we want to run it to.
Unless Civic can just grab it from one and just bring it over. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Something,
Possible.
something we can work on.
Yeah, that's, staff can do that. I'm just saying if,
Yeah.
like on this Fitchburg form, they have the drop down, but all of them seem to go to the police department.
Oh,
I don't think the police department needs to know if somebody wants a new sign in a subdivision that didn't get what it should have.
so we would have two separate forms then. We'd have a form for things that would go to, with a drop down for things that would go to the sheriff. A different form for things that would go to, with a drop down with, things that would go to me.
Yeah, and I mean, I do like, I can't remember which community it was, but they had the aldermans set up,
Yeah,
so I mean, I think that's valid.
so it would be,
You want to be CC'd on those two then?
Yeah, I mean, if there
it would
was,
just be you, that would be CC'd on.
yeah,
It wouldn't be the board.
right, or you could do the chair and the vice chair.
Mhm.
I mean, or even if people on the committee wanna know about it, that's valid if they're gonna be dealing with
That's
it.
something that we can bring toward.
I just don't know what volume of creating a new form is gonna bring to us.
Right.
Could be a lot, could be a little.
Mhm.
We can make it a standing agenda item on there
Oh.
every month, and if there's zero, there's zero. If they are, they're
Correspondence or
there.
something.
I don't, if they copy you on it, Mark, that's enough for me, and you're gonna take the appropriate action.
No, I like that point. Correspondence section.
Mhm.
Okay.
What else do you need from us, Kathy?
I also thought too, like remove out stop sign and just do a more broad one about, I think it was it Franklin? They called it traffic. Warning sign applications. And then. I think our policy can not be as specific as just stop signs.
That's fine. All right, we'll make those changes, get some forms put together.
Are you gonna, obviously this one draws from Fox Point, is it gonna be codified to look like ours?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
The only concern I
Everything will
have
be,
is,
Um,
we only
Have our branding.
use standard signs. And they're in the MUTCD that we don't have to have, somebody wants a different kind of sign. Here's the signs you have, there's a whole list of them, there's a whole board of them. These are the signs that we get to choose from the menu. We're not creating,
Mhm.
signs that don't exist.
I think
because
that's when we
otherwise-
use that MUTCD or whatever it's
Right.
called, that.
Cause Nick can call up
Thing.
whoever and get a sign
Lang.
like right away.
Yeah.
To knock these special, cause otherwise it's gonna be, Joe Blow lives up the road.
No,
Signs.
I don't think you want to do that as part of this process.
No, I just wanna make sure that
We stay
the
with.
only signs that are available are the standard signs.
Right. Agreed. Agreed, right? Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
thank you for the input.
So. I guess our only action would be to direct staff to continue with the policy creation. No motion needed. 6B, discussion necessary action regarding phase 1 of the proposed sewer service area expansion along Lisbon Road and its submittal to the SEWRPC. Mr. Nitzel?
I'm speaking with Kathy. It sounds like Joe Didle from Sewer Pack will be here at the November meeting. So we had sent Kathy, she had asked for a map of the overall area, and then we had a second option that we sent as well.
Okay.
So just so Joel can take a look at it prior to showing up in November, but at that point, we'll be able to ask questions and
So the idea is for them to come, talk about timeline and process and such.
And then based upon that, the next step would be based upon what they say is going to be they have to do a short study to come up with a scope of how big this thing's going to be, the whole facilities plan. Then once they determine that, the next step, which would probably be in January or so, we need to get a cost for what that would be. So,
It's optimistic. I
huh?
like it.
No, a sewer pack will do it. They'll make the determination because they're gonna be talking not only to Lisbon, they're gonna be talking to Sussex. Then they'll go back and say, okay, you need to do, and I'm confident that they're gonna want a full facility plan for the whole enchilada. And then based upon that scope, we have to have a cost for that. That's the next step on that. And we should be able to get the stuff. I had a significant conversation with Joel Deedle. We should probably get that from him after the first of the year, with the holidays coming up, and then we can go to the next step.
We'll start with him on
Yeah.
the November meeting and see what his.
That'll be a great meeting in
Is
November.
there anything the committee should prepare for that, or is that gonna be driven by staff and?
Just, yeah, we gave him
Yeah.
what he asked for and then
Okay.
he'll come in and talk.
He'll tell us what we're going to get.
I guess I don't wanna get to the meeting, just hear what he's got to say and then have to come back in December to take any action.
Well, no, he's going to have to do some work after he talks with. He's got some information from Lisbon. He also has to talk to Sussex. Because it's their treatment plant and he may want to do some stuff that they want to do, so they do it all at one time. And then based upon that, Sewer Pack will send a letter to Lisbon saying, this is what's going to be required, because they're the 208 agency for the DNR. And then based upon that, the next thing is to get a cost to do that work. You can't do one without the other, so it's gonna take some while. I would venture to guess, we're not gonna have a completed facilities plan through public hearing and DNR review until a year from now. But
So-
that's the way it goes.
So just to shorten it up, we don't have any action that needs to be taken in.
No.
November. We're too far.
Correct, yep. And I'm being laborsome with just understanding we're going through a transition, so.
Yeah.
Could whoever the new person be, wanna look back and they have.
The 4 people that replace Kathy will be working.
Just-
4.
Okay, 5, I'm sorry.
We have a salary limit here.
I have no idea,
I
you told me.
It's published.
Yeah.
It was advertised.
Can I
Ate
just-
my enchilada.
We're including the entire community, correct? Because I know at one time we were talking about including that area north of Willow Springs in some kind of
Yeah.
plan.
You know, and that's, right now, all we did was all we sent him was the information on the new area,
Okay.
by, Lisbon.
I just
that
wonder
we're
if we.
looking
But
at.
he will ask
If there are
next
other
month
areas.
if there's
and-
other areas, and I already told him there's a little bit here and a little bit there. That's why, and then Sussex is gonna come in, I'm thinking,
say, yeah.
and say, we want this little area in here and everything else, and we can say, fine, we'll do the whole
Yeah. the whole
Sussex sewer
region.
service area, one time, get it over with. And, because we also need, don't forget, part of the map that Don created that we looked at included a small area on Richmond Road over by Redford Hills. Well, we want to do everything we can think of at one time, because it's the same amount of work and the same amount of cost.
Right.
And if there's anything else that somebody else knows about, he needs to know.
Good deal.
So are we also discussing the idea of just doing that area north of Lisbon Road as a possibility and for that development to get it done faster? Or are we now just looking at the overall area and that's it?
Well, I think we started talking about that area because we have a developer that wants to get something done pretty fast.
Yeah.
But when we talk to Joel next month, the timing on getting all of Lisbon looked at, he might think is a better process than just this little piece. I don't know.
Is your concern that looking at the whole picture is gonna?
Well, I just thought if you have a developer that's
Right,
wanting to
well,
get going and wanting sewer, the idea was if Joel would look at just that area, then we could get an abbreviated one done and that we get that done faster. And then look at the rest of the area later, but if the developer can wait and you do the whole area, it's just a matter of, and if that's still up for discussion in November, I think you ask them those questions.
They don't, he's not under contract right now. They're still trying to negotiate it, struggling with the negotiation.
In the property next to that, it's got a for sale sign on. As per a month.
Yeah, so the one up on the hill.
No, the one further west. There's a couple of for sale signs that have gone up in that general area in the last 2 months.
Can we make sure to, can we brief him on, to make sure he knows those
Joel?
two options before?
Yeah.
Just so.
Yeah.
Maybe
I'll,
ask some.
I
mean, is that gonna be-
I talked to him about that when I reached out to him before last month's meeting, and that's when I say, I believe what we sent you was the two different scenarios that we came up with. Just so he had an idea that the amount of acreage that would be in one, which we assumed. The area in the north side of Lisbon Road and then the overall area that was in the sewer service study. Just so he could kind of get his head wrapped around.
So would there-
Yeah.
would there be-
Yep.
Would there be three then? That little one you talked about, the expanded one in that area, but then also what he just talked about with.
There could be,
You could include the area north of Willow Springs we just brought up too. I mean, if you're doing a full blown one, you might as well incorporate any other areas you got within the village.
I kind of looked at that Willow Springs. We had talked about it before and there is sanitary sewer is kind of eminent in that area. I'm not saying to go in areas where, 5 miles away is your next sewer. It
Right.
just, some of that contiguous
Yeah, right in
service
that area
stuff.
where these
Where-
two properties are in, this one's out, these two
Yeah.
properties are
Yep.
in, that one's,
yeah,
these next two are out,
Yeah.
the T.
and we don't know what
Yeah.
Sussex is gonna come up with.
So really, I mean, like you say, it could be any amount of options. It's just,
But if we do, Joe, if we do, let's say we wanted to do an abbreviated and we just wanted to do that area. Does it matter what? What Sussex wants, if they wanted.
I don't think
area in
they'll,
there?
I don't think they're going to do that. Because it's the same amount of work for them for sewer pack. It's a timing issue. If you start nitpicking this stuff, it's gonna be a problem. They're gonna say, time out, we're not doing that. We're not gonna make Swiss cheese out of this. We're gonna do the whole thing because there's enough interest and enough areas between Lisbon and Sussex that we're gonna do it one time because we don't have to have multiple public hearings, DNR reviews, and work on sewer packs part. They're gonna. I'm sure there's areas.
All right, any other question on the proposed sewer service area expansion topic? All right, staff, need anything from us?
No.
All right. Hearing no action on it, we'll move to 7A, new business discussion and necessary action regarding L.W. Allen quote for installation of the Lisbon Business Park East flow meter. Mr. Neitzel?
so I've been coordinating with, well, first off, I started with Lannon. Lannon didn't have a spec for a flow meter. Basically, so then I went to Sussex, seeing as everything ultimately goes back to them. And, so I started working with them. They work with L.W. Allen Electronics, which is their control systems name. Got this quote for the flow meter, the manhole and the partial flume that's needed for the flow meter, that's already installed out there. That was installed with the first phase of Business Park East when we put the utilities in. It sat that way because we didn't have enough flow at the time to generate for a meter to read. So that's why it's being based off the wells. So this is the cost for the meter. Sort of matches the meters that we currently have out there today, newer, obviously. He did pull up our information that we have out there for existing meters. They're getting old. I think the time's limited for parts for them, so just an FYI that at some point we might be looking at replacing those.
We could get a good deal on multiples.
I could ask.
That's all in the tip? Or is
No.
that?
It'd be like Willow Springs and
Okay.
Plainview and.
I'm thinking about the TID budget, that's all.
So their quote includes the meter. It includes, all the controls, and includes updating, Sussex's SCADA system. The antenna that's gonna require to be able to transmit all that information to Sussex. That's all included in their quote, but on top of this, we need a quote from an electrician, which Sussex has worked with Next Electric in the past, so I've reached out to Leo Maney on that. I'll be getting a quote from him. And then the other one will be We Energies to get service to that location. So my goal is to have all that stuff put together for the November agenda.
Can we do this without bidding?
38,000.
It's gonna be more than that. It's gonna be
Yeah.
it's gonna be closer to 50.
Because then at
Well,
least you've got the contract.
The
everything
electrician.
out
You'll have
there.
the electrician.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the electrician, if this is, just equipment, we can buy equipment without bidding. But we can't do, service,
You can't do construction.
construction, service, electrician.
I just don't wanna go waste everybody's time and effort if we gotta bid this. I mean, don't you think, Don, that this is gonna push us to,
5,000. Let's see what the,
would we have LWL in contract with the electrician? So there's no question about this?
They didn't want to,
I know they don't want to,
but I could ask them. to.
I get concerned about the control guy not getting along with the electrician.
Well, LWL, and I talked to them about Next Electric too. They're very familiar with them. So as soon as LWL got me this proposal, I told Next Electric, I'm gonna share that with you, so you're aware of their scope of work. So you know what else is required on your end to get this done. As far as the bidding goes, yeah, I think I'll get the quote from them if it comes out where it crosses that threshold, then. Or if, from the committee standpoint, if you still want multiple bids on it, I'll get them. It's just in terms of the meter itself and how it reports back to Sussex and everything, this is what we have around the village right now. So when it comes to servicing them and everything else, that's what's out there.
Okay.
Any questions?
see what
So-
November brings.
Do we need a motion?
Well,
No.
are you still getting more?
Yeah.
How many more do you think will be?
Well, I'm gonna get, like I say, I'm gonna get a quote from the electrician yet, because they'd be doing the actual install of the wiring and setting the control panels and everything else on the board. All LWL does is basically come in and calibrate it, and then they set up the antenna and get it to report back to Sussex, and then make
So is this the only source we can go to for this?
that's what I'm saying, that's the equipment we have around the village today.
Nobody else sells the equipment?
No, this is
Oh,
there.
really?
If you want the same.
With the facility upgrades, is that still gonna be the same case? Over in Sussex?
I would believe that's who they would write into the.
That's what you're using.
Typically, the way, like on a contract like that, if they did wastewater upgrades, they'd write LWL in or Altronics as the system controller, and
Okay,
they'd be written into the contract, and the bidders, like whoever Meyer and Staub, that's who they would have to use or get a quote from for their bid.
okay,
So-
okay.
And this includes the work in Sussex also, at least the way I read it.
Yeah, it does.
One thing this is more Kathy and finances, can we leave this all in the TID budget, or are we gonna have to put this in utility?
Well, if if it has to do with just the TID, then yes, we would put it in TID budget, but if it's something that goes outside of that TID, then it has to go into the sanitary.
Well, I guess that was my question, is because, so the physicality of it's gonna be within the TID, but the receivership of information, all that is,
No, that's part of it, but if this only covers flows coming from the TID, then it's covered by the TID. even though they have to go and program it in Sussex, that's still in the
But if they
TID.
were gonna be replacing.
Yeah, so
other
the TID
things
can
like
I mean, there's
Willow
no-
Springs and stuff, then that would be in.
There's no physical equipment
Sewer.
going in Sussex. They're pulling up their computer or their SCADA system and they're just updating that. So.
I'm thinking it's a TID.
What, what is the necessity timeline for this? I mean, if we don't take action on this project,
Well,
what is?
it's gonna take a while to coordinate this because we gotta do a We Energy, so it's gonna be a bit, but Kathy and I are just talking about that with the I&I issue that they're
Right.
trying to look at with Lannon. So obviously the sooner the better. But the one thing I brought up to Kathy is we could look at putting a temporary flow meter in
Mhm.
out at Business Park East. Just to try to prove that the issue is not coming from there.
Cause they believe that the major I&I is either coming from us or Menominee Falls. And, we can't prove it's not coming from us because we don't have a meter in our business park. Which is where they're looking, they think that it might be coming from. If we can put temporarily a meter in there until we get whatever this big project is, whatever it's gonna take to get that big project done, at least we'd be able to prove to Sussex that it's hopefully not our I&I problem, and that it's a Menominee Falls I&I problem. We've gotta start narrowing it down to the point where we're not paying this extra I&I. And so, that, I think the meter, a temporary meter or a rental meter for a little while might help us pinpoint it. It might also tell us it's us, but then we can start, considering where the water's coming from.
So,
One of the other things to consider now is, we're getting into that winter construction for We Energy, so there's an upcharge for
Right.
two.
If it gets, if we get, frost, right?
There's a,
No, it doesn't,
It's just a
it has
date.
nothing to do with frost.
The dates are certain.
But just working with them, by the time you apply and they get done designing it and then they set it for construction, it'll be spring anyways. Is my
Right, by the
guess.
time you get the, what is the deadline for TID expenditures?
Oh, 2034.
Oh, okay, so we got time.
Yeah, we've got plenty of
Okay.
time.
Well, cause it's gonna take a
Before we
while to
close,
get this stuff on
It's
order.
just before we close, it's just, I'm looking at this year's budget, and if we're gonna spend it in, or 25's budget, we're gonna spend 40,000, 50,000 in TID money, I need to look at that, because we're gonna end up at a negative, we could come out as a negative for next year then. Until
I think
another year
within
comes and-
2025, I think it's doable, but if you're trying to get it in 2024.
No, 2025, I'm talking about 2025's budget.
Oh.
Because we're in the middle of finishing the budget. And so this would be the time that I need to throw that $50,000 in there.
I think I would do
For
that.
2025, so then I can make sure that. At one point, we didn't think we were gonna have any construction finally in 1 year in this business park, and now looks like we're gonna have construction again.
Yeah, I think I would, in my opinion, I would put it in the budget to do for 2025.
Yeah.
I don't think we can squeak it in yet.
do we have an idea?
We don't have it anyways this
Is
year.
it common for a meter to be here?
We got, so like Plainview, that's a meter.
Yeah.
Willow Springs is a meter. So it,
It's basically wherever your sewer is going and combining with somebody else's sewer.
so
And
this
we
is,
had
this
was
is where
supposed to be in place already.
all Business Park East comes to one spot on Lee's Lane at the intersection of Lee's Lane and Town Line, and then it crosses the road over by Augusta Parkway. And that's right where this manhole's sitting. Like I say, it's got everything in it waiting for the meter in terms of the flume
But
and
we never
everything.
put the meter in.
Hmm.
So,
My only other suggestion to identify the I&I is if we could get somebody in there to televise during a rain event or something. Or during a wet season, maybe just have it televised, say in March, assuming, we might have a thaw in March or April. And see if you can identify anything through televising.
so once we
So-
do that, once we find if the I&I, when we televise or whenever we do the I&I, that can actually be done through the regular utility district. Because that helps the whole utility district as a whole. If we reduce the I&I it will reduce the costs that the whole utility district is reviewing, and we review pipes every year, a portion of that every year, and so that could be the place where we look. You just don't think of it with a brand new pipes.
Yeah,
Well, you've got,
I wouldn't think of it. You guys probably.
you've got a lot of connections to that brand new system, so it might necessarily be coming from our pipe, but from somebody's lateral on their site.
or to our point about Richmond School with somebody's roof drains being connected.
Correct.
Maybe then it's a matter of going to look at individual, oh, you don't have sampling yet.
So was this on the design of the system in?
The manhole was, but I had asked on the same thing, you know, was there something missed when we did the whole project, but, there wasn't enough flow to put this on yet until we just got all these in just recently.
You need a certain amount of flow for a meter to work. Cause it's sitting up above and it's just reading the water level going through this flume. That's the way these work. So without that, there was not enough flow in there, so you didn't wanna put a piece of equipment, have it sitting in a manhole and only have Wyckoff, the first development out there, sitting there for 4 years and. So that was the reason the meter wasn't put in at that time, just the manhole and the structure that it would need. And now, I mean, obviously it developed pretty quick. There's our point now where
Does
it's
Quick
pretty
Trip
much.
have a car wash?
Yes.
Right there, okay, we got flow.
Mike was just saying that's
we
our
got both.
biggest, that's the biggest.
Quick Trip is equal to everything else.
Oh, yeah,
So
okay,
So,
do you need?
well, I don't think we're gonna take any action until we hear
No.
those
just
updated.
more for you guys' information, just to get it out there.
How long is this proposal good for? Dave?
I'm sure he said 30, but I'll call him and I'll just give him an update, yeah, valid for 30 days, so. I'll
Plus,
call-
do we need to put money in whatever we approve next month from you,
What's,
for you guys?
I'm basically just coordinating this, so it's just,
Okay, I just wanna make sure that whatever we got enough
Yeah, I
money
mean, it'd
there
be
so
different. I mean,
Kathy
if-
knows what to put in the TID budget for next year.
Oh,
if
yeah,
we end up,
you were out in the bathroom.
I'm sorry.
We were-
I was gonna put in 50, this is 38, we don't know what the energies is gonna be, and we don't know what the electrician's gonna be.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And
Apologize.
You're
It's
good.
terrible being old. You'll get old someday too. Okay,
All right,
there are pluses to that, let me tell you.
7B, discussion necessary action regarding Brabazon quote for spare pump at Richmond School lift station.
right. In your packet is a quote from Brabazon. If you remember, they took 2 pumps back to their shop to see if they could get rebuilt. One of them was shot, and then the second one they looked at, and that's the last bullet point underneath inspection report. They're saying that, I think it was pump number 2. Doesn't make sense to repair it. It's too far gone. The cost between trying to rebuild it and putting a new one in was like $600.
and it's only good for 6 months.
So the quote for a replacement pump, which would be a backup pump at this point, is $4,530.
The only question I had is what I had 2 months ago or 3 months ago. Can we use it someplace else?
No.
It's only good
that
for there.
station.
Okay,
The rest of the stations, I believe, are interchangeable. But the Richmond School is not.
You said it's gonna take a few years before we get, this.
yeah, we won't have
They
sewer for
can.
2 years.
So just so I read the quote right, it cost us $389. That's what the fee was to find that out.
No, that's just a box that I think you can check,
If we want them,
right?
the inspection done.
Yeah, how much did this test cost?
This is months ago already, so.
$500.
I guess in the future, if we're gonna be seeing what the salvageability of pumps is, what we have to know. What is that gonna cost us to find out? Analyzation fee.
And we would have last time, this was part of the. I don't know, we did that this
Yeah,
spring,
Change.
if it was February, maybe, March.
Yeah, I don't think they're not gonna charge us
No.
$389 for
That's what I'm
this.
saying, that would have been
Oh.
taken care of on that prior
Okay.
quote
Because that
earlier
was
this
when
year.
we were flopping pumps and we just asked them to
Yeah.
take a look.
So do we need a replacement for this pump too?
Pump goes down, we're running that station on one,
What does that mean to us?
you got the school there, it's like.
How lucky are you?
Do we have a backup right now? When's the last time we had a backup?
Earlier this spring before pump one went down and then pump two failed and we replaced that. The backup pump went in as pump two, I remember, right?
How many,
Right now, we do not have a backup.
I thought we had 2 new pumps in there.
Well, this was the second.
2021 was,
This was,
2021 was the first one.
That was a new pump sitting there as the backup.
Oh.
how long does it take to get a pump? 3 months, 4 months?
No,
Says
like
it's
he had
in-
the last one, I think, in 30 days.
Says it's in Texas.
Yeah,
What I'm
it's
saying
in
is
stock. in
why-
Texas.
If we can, we have pumps, 2 pumps working. If anything happens. I would believe one of them is gonna go out, we need a new pump, we get it in a couple of weeks, we'd buy it at that time. There's no point in having this thing. Sitting around for $5,000. Not only that, but you can't just leave a pump sit, you're supposed to be rotating them, otherwise the warranty goes to hell. I've been through that. Basically, so I'd say. We know what we're looking at roughly, we're looking at $5,000, and we gotta do it, we'll buy it at that time. Otherwise, it's a very expensive boat anchor.
That was
That-
my.
That's fine by me. I just wanted to throw it out.
No,
to the
no, I
committee
think
that-
this is good information, Don, from my perspective. We know what we're looking at for the exposure, but if we get one within a month.
Yeah.
Years,
I just want something to happen and somebody say, well, let's throw it back, you know, where's our?
well, we'll
backup?
blame you anyway, but that's beside the point.
So there's 2 functioning right now
Yep, 2 pumps, they alternate.
and there's no reserve on it.
No.
But we can function under one.
Yes.
we're still in our.
Yep.
Utility.
Yeah,
So the
that's-
only bad problem would be is if both blew.
Yes, then you'd be pumping out and
which
haulers and
we did that.
eat up
back
that money
in-
in no time.
5
I
gallon
think we did
buckets.
that
Yeah,
in
I got 6 of
2019.
them
We had a
around.
tanker truck on call over Labor Day weekend. Going into the school, I
So
think for that first week.
I would be in favor of. Taking this information, putting it in a file, and that's the end of it for right now. And we have to do something in the future. I'm willing to roll the dice and say the likelihood of 2 pumps going out simultaneously is nil or none.
Hopefully it happens.
I know, that's
Or
what
it's,
God gave me a wooden head.
It's
for.
July if it happens. Let's hope. No
Yeah.
kids in school.
We can run on one. And worst case is you get a truck down there, which has happened before in Richmond's case.
2019.
All right.
Jane?
I agree.
Okay. I thought the
Sometimes
facial,
people do it.
no, I thought the facial expression
You
was,
said it out loud.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, don't say it out loud.
oh, you were doing.
No, she's
Yeah.
making
She was-
faces at me too, so it doesn't.
Oh.
But I do think that we need to have the truck on like speed dial or some, as an emergency response. kind of.
Yeah, how long is it gonna take to find that out? Like, that there's a problem there with 2.
You can get a truck in.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember, was it Fred's or something like
Yeah,
that?
I think it's Fred
Yeah,
17.
that's who we used. He was there right away last time and they were,
He'll get to my house.
But how soon will we know, we as the community know that there's 2 down?
well, as soon as the school calls me, he'll call me and say he's got an alarm going off and that might be pump 2 and then months later, another one goes off that, pump 1.
My neighbor got Fred's there in a half an hour, so there.
Well, really, it's, if you know one pump's down at that point, then we can,
We'd be
we could
ordering one.
we can order the other pump and get it on, even if we fast tracked a delivery.
I still gotta get it installed. It's gonna be 2 or 3 weeks. Okay. And Fred's will be there very quickly.
Alright. Anything else, questions, concerns? So,
I just look at the long range, how far we're out for that sewer. It's like. That's gonna be years.
It's gonna be
And it's-
2026.
Yeah, it's,
I think these pumps have been lasting maybe 2 years. A little over 2 years.
So you have a contrary opinion? That does happen.
yes, I do. It's just, you know, we're gonna wait longer. Where if we could spend this pump next year is gonna be another $300 to $400 also.
True.
Look at it that way, where if you have it, it's on the shelf, it's still new, yeah, the warranty's working, but it's brand new. You know, plus it's gonna be rebuildable. You know, it's kind of look at it that way too, it's
So you're
I-
saying penny wise, dollar foolish.
kind of, yeah, like.
That was definitely one of my questions I had in the back of my head. Another one too is for long range planning, is there a way to ever convert these two pumps? Should they go down to the same as the other pumps? So that we're all in the same system, same
I
style?
think these are smaller pumps than what we have at the other stations, so you're getting into sizing and necking them down and it.
No.
Here's a
Unless you put
question,
it in a bigger station.
with this
And we're not doing. the
agreement
graphics.
we have with Richmond, how much of this cost is ours?
35.
Yes.
So the price of this pump just went down 35%. Maybe it would be. Even though we could sell it on the market for $2,000, even brand new, but. Maybe we should go ahead, since I forgot about the fact that we're not paying the full cost of this pump. It's not our money. All of it. Only 35% of it is.
Unless you live in the Richmond School District.
They have a lot bigger problems. than us.
Well, I
think I know somebody.
I'm just trying to sell, spend $262 million of my money for something else. This is peanuts to Richmond.
Okay, I make a motion to purchase the spare pump for the Richmond lift station.
Motion made by Jane,
I will second it.
seconded by Mr. Plus. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to purchase, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
God, I talked-
You talked yourself out of there.
Well,
Good discussion.
because they have two heads here.
All right, 7C, utility
Is
budget.
that our money?
Discussion necessary action regarding the 2025 utility budget. Mike, you want to kick this off or you want Kathy to?
So the budget, part of this is, kind of flying blind because I really don't know what the plans are. One of the points that Kathy brought up was engineering. I had put in the budget for engineering for Don to be involved in expansion of the system. She's, saying that really doesn't belong in the sewer budget, that's gonna be in the general fund. So we'd effectively take, approximately 27,000 to 30,000 out of the engineering budget. That's on the downside. It's what I put in for Don and Uncle to be working on further expansion of the system.
How much was that?
I put in about 3,000, somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 a month. So it would be somewhere between 36,000 and 40 is the number. Not sure, but. And on the other side, the cost of what I do or what my firm does. I brought that down to what I thought my firm would be involved in for the 2023 firm year, or for the 25 year. I didn't put anything in for staff of the village. So that there's an upward portion of the push in that area. And the question is how much will the cost of the village to have its staff do the work that my staff did? And I'm really not familiar with what the rates are for what the loaded rates are for the village people are, so. So those are the two big swings that we see in there. What I did for revenues, went with a $10 increase in the residential, $10 a quarter increase, which was discussed with Eller. When we had Eller in here. And then the volumes are closer to the 5-year average for each of the customers, as opposed to looking at 2024 Specifically because 2024 was a very high year as far as volume goes. So that the budget for sewer processing is actually down compared to 2024 forecasted, but it's greater than the 24 budget. The whole budget is, revenue is based on the residential. And then for the commercial, we pass through whatever Sussex bills us. We pass that through to the commercial people. So if we're off on the budget, volume usage for the commercial people, it really kind of corrects itself in the actual.
Do you charge an administrative fee then to
Correct,
those
there's an
businesses?
administrative fee, and then for those people that run through the land and interceptor, there's a land and interceptor fee added for every gallon, so that we have an additional amount in the budget for administration of those accounts and for the fact that it runs through the land and land is gonna charge us on the volume. So the revenue and then the cost of the sewage is based on our estimate of what Sussex is gonna charge us, and that is still an unknown. And I put in an increase in there for Sussex, obviously they're not gonna lower the price. But we did have an abnormality going from 23 to 24 in that Sussex raised the price on some of the customers and lowered the price on some of the others. So we really don't know what Sussex is gonna do until they approve their budget.
And where is that reflected on?
Well, I put in there what I think that's good, that
Yeah.
Sussex is gonna be.
Which line item is that?
Well, that's,
Is that sewage
sewage
treatment?
the operating cost, so where the,
Sewage
when
treatment?
you're looking at the budget sheet that you're looking at. The sewage treatment line, so that's the 100,0060100. So so the sewage treatment, and then the sewage treatment line is a combination of.
Sorry for my scribbles.
What's, we expect to be charged by Lannon and what we're gonna be charged by, Sussex. And the budget for Lannon, we're basing it on what they've charged us the last couple of quarters, but they're delinquent in their billing to us. They haven't billed us now for 8 months.
Who hasn't?
Lannon hasn't billed us for 8 months. They, every once in a while, they come out of the woodwork and send us a 2-quarter bill. But from our financials, we're always accruing for the monthly usage.
Yeah.
So that we don't have this bumpy road. We're looking at what we expect. So the Lannon charge is gonna be right around 2,400, 2,600 a year or a month.
What is in the miscellaneous under general administrative? I was wondering if that's something you guys are incurring or if that's gonna come to Village
Well,
Hall.
the miscellaneous was the post office box last year and then Eller. I think we paid $4,500 to Eller. That's not, we're not expecting that to occur again.
Okay.
Well, if we reduce the engineering to $40,000, that gives us 71. We're short roughly 63. If we strive for I'd ask Kathy this, if I don't know what we should put in here for the staff billing and accounting in there. Do
I
we
think-
have,
I would suggest we keep that the same as what it is currently. there's a couple things to keep in mind. We have to pay our staff, but also, we're gonna be paying, Mike to do the audit for 2024. And then if we have any questions, we want to be able to ask them.
Right.
And pay his fees. But then also for staffing purposes, if we reduce this to nothing, we don't have any way to pay the staff for their
Right.
portion of, the extra work that they're doing.
So I was thinking almost like stormwater, shouldn't there be a cross charge?
There would be, yep, and that's what this would be.
But how, so why wouldn't we keep it more in line with what we were already incurring?
That's what I'm
should
saying.
be.
Keep it the same as what we were incurring.
Oh, I thought you meant keep it the same as what is on the sheet. Okay,
No,
sorry.
no,
I
what was
misunderstood.
incurred.
I mean, if we move that to say $25,000, we move engineering to $40,000, that's 65. And which gets us a lot closer to a break-even budget.
Well,
That should,
yeah, I wouldn't suggest we reduce the engineering down to 40. We haven't done 40,000. I'd
No,
say we'd
I
want to
would-
go at least 50. We
okay,
haven't
that's fine.
we haven't gone down to 40,000 in 3 years, so we've been above it for the last 3 years. For engineering fees, just in general. So if we went 50,000 there. I did want to bring up that we do have a little bit of revenue. The 29 for accounts for deferred billing, right now you have it at 0. And you probably didn't remember, Hegman is gonna be paying us back every year through tax.
Right, but that
That's
is,
$2,900.
but that's a cash item, it's not a profit and loss.
So did you put it in cash?
It's in the cash, right, because it's currently being carried as a receivable on the books,
Okay, so it's already in there,
right?
okay.
We should also have money in the replacement fund. I thought we went through that earlier this year, what that number should be. We're supposed to be funding the replacement fund every year.
I think he said that we already have a generous amount. Thought I remembered.
We've got the utility plants. No depreciation.
We're cheap, we're free. We don't need that anymore.
So, the other thing I, thought of was the audit and accounting fees. We've got it at $14,000, but, just a reminder, we have a $6,000 accounting package, annual fee, so that would need to jump up to 20,000. In that
Right.
area, unless you have it accounted for in another area.
No, what you would pay for the package, I would go into your supplies.
It's not not a package. It's, the 6,000 is an annual fee for the accounting package.
Right, so that's really a software cost, that's not a audit cost.
Okay, so that's not there, because it's kind of their, service charge, not a new product, it's a service charge. It's not
The
supplies,
annual, the annual
service.
fee. Or is that what you're
Yeah,
talking about?
right.
Right, and that doesn't belong in your audit, that belongs down in supplies,
You put it in supplies?
right?
Did you put it in supplies?
So whenever we made a per payment to, White Horse, that
White-
went into supplies.
Okay.
So that,
so
we only
that's
have that as,
6,000. So we'll keep the 14,000 where the audit and accounting fees are, and then where the supplies are, we're gonna wanna add add $6,000 to that.
Okay.
Your depreciation expense, I just had a real quick question on that. We've got it at 62 in 22, then 72 in 23, 24. We're expecting 72, but then we jump for 25 to 84.
Right, I think the plant, if you look at our plant, it's getting older, and I think the depreciation that they took early on was substantially too low. So, but one of the things that we were doing is we were increasing the depreciation amount each year as we were going forward to get it where the accumulated depreciation would catch up more to what the decrease in the value has been. The plant's over 30 years old now, so it's more than
That's for our appreciation is gonna,
If you look
bring
at
up
the
our-
historical cost, we should probably have depreciated the system now at about 40%. And we're nowhere near that.
okay.
And the interesting thing about depreciation is it's a non-cash item, so. You know, it does drive into an operating loss, but it doesn't mean that you're gonna deplete the cash.
So we're about
And
roughly,
then what we're showing is that the reserve for replacement would increase by the same amount as depreciation.
so we're still about $20,000 loss.
Are you able to put these numbers in your system? I mean, you have the system on your laptop?
Yeah.
Can you make those changes and let's see what we
Well,
come up with?
what number did you agree on for the engineer?
50.
Thought we did 50.
50 total?
Is there a
We
reason
only
why we
changed two things.
I'm
is
sorry.
is there a reason why we shouldn't keep it more in line with the projected of this year?
Because, in the last 2 years, we've been doing more work on, getting more information, getting the committee up to date. And so our engineering is, been putting in more time on just getting mapping done for us for the first time, getting all of the stuff. So that's kind of like one-offs.
We only changed two numbers, engineering and supplies
And
And staffing.
and
and
administration.
staffing, yeah, whatever number you wanted to have for that,
We're gonna keep the same as last year.
20,000,
22.
okay.
Or 20, it was,
The budgeted amount.
22, yeah, 22,000.
I mean, I don't have any problem showing a deficit. Because next year is going to be, until we get things straightened out, which we are still working on. If we end up being $20,000 in the hole, so be it. We're gonna be smarter
We
a year
shouldn't
from
be.
now. than
We
are.
just reduced reduced the engineering by
61,000.
60,000. So we shouldn't be in the hole.
Yeah, because we increased,
By 20. Or 18.
What month is?
And
Are you gonna pay that
and
maintenance?
6
You know?
supplies.
No, I don't. I'm guessing it'll be at the end of the year. It'll be, I think, like December. Because we're gonna be purchasing it in December. We'll have our first year will be free and that will be for 2026.
68,000.
So then you would be showing a change in fund balance of a decrease of 16,603. And you're looking at the page. let's see, Operation.
Can we actually jump ahead and we'll knock out number 8? Well, he's doing the updating. So I'll table 7C until we complete item 8, and then we'll return to 7C prior to completing 9.
Okay.
Right, anyone have a problem with that?
Fine.
I'll call item 8, items to be placed on future agenda. So I got discussion necessary action to create policy procedure for the sign issue. And then I also have the sewer pack November, which would be 6B, that's gonna come back with sewer pack attending the meeting.
Okay.
And then anything else?
We won't have
Oh, yeah,
that yet.
we won't.
He's not gonna have that.
He's not gonna have it. Actually, let's put that on there in case he
Just
does.
in case there's an update.
Yeah. We can always.
I've got one to add, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I'd like to discuss grinder pump work contract. Right now, we're with DeBellic for years. I've got another company that would be willing to do the contract that actually does work on the pumps. So instead of replacing pumps, they go down and they work on the pump and fix them and then they get out. So it's not, I think that's gonna be less expensive in the long run if, when I spoke with the owner of the company, they said they don't pull pumps. Very, very rarely do they have to replace a complete pump. They have.
And just to clarify for anybody watching the meeting, this is for the village side responsibility, nothing to do with
Correct. Very much.
people who are on their own.
Mhm. Yes. Thank you.
I'll save a month worth of comments about grinder pump.
Mhm.
Okay,
Is that all right?
any items for future? All right, hearing none, I'll close 8 and revisit 7C.
And then the operating loss would be 24,905.
So you do have to remember, like, your depreciation isn't an actual expenditure, too, so it's like your cash. Or. Correct, Mike? Your depreciation is not exactly an expenditure. It's not cash out the door necessarily.
Right. So depreciation is a non-cash item, so with the operating deficit of 24,000 and depreciation of 84,000, effectively you're looking for an increase in your cash balances of about 60. And we don't really have anything in there for capital expenditures for the sanitary district in the year.
So I guess I'm confused. We took the deputy secretary and bookkeeping and we went from 48 to 22, which is $17,200. And then we increased supplies by 6,000
You decreased the engineering by
And then you-
61.
and then you decreased engineering. So we should be in the plus, not in negative.
No, you started off at the budget had a deficit of 62. And now you reduced
Oh,
that deficit
62.
to
Okay,
24.
I'm sorry, I have fund balance change of 16,605. That's what I was confused at. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion?
Yep.
I guess I'll make a motion to adopt the 2025 utility budget as presented with the changes that were discussed.
Forward it to tomorrow.
I'll second.
All right, motion made by myself, seconded by Mr. Everly. Any further discussion?
Tomorrow. Get to the office.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Already completed item 8. Item 9 is adjournment. Motion made. Seconded by Mr. Everly. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
4-0.
Tomorrow morning, I get to.
It's just that we're going right into the meetings.
Thank you.
Yeah. We've got the board here to